It opened my eyes to aspects of myself that followed that same general mindset. That love for what you do. You love what you do so much that you actually make love to it. With it. Back in 2020, when I was still collecting a government stipend for the COVID pandemic, leading up to when I finally decided to take the plunge into entrepreneurship, this theme kept on coming up. And I forget exactly where it was stemmed from, but I know if I went back to my notes, I would be able to find it. But there's this idea, you are the sum of the 5 people that you spend the most time around. I'm a believer in that. If you want to stay sober, I wouldn't recommend hanging out with people who are addicted to drugs. I'm not saying that you're going to fall. It's very likely that you'll be able to maintain. It's probable. But it's also not impossible for you to fall. And keep in mind, I'm a fatalist. Everything happens for a reason. Every cause has an effect and every effect has a cause. And I believe that there's divine reason behind everything. And in front of. It goes both ways. See, if God is omnipotent and omniscient, then that means that God exists in the past just as much as in the future. It's a little tougher to see in the future, but it's easier to see when you look in the past, which makes the future seem a little bit more attainable. So, at this particular time in my life, what I was noticing was I was doing my very best to invest my money and my time into training and educational development that would help me further along my path to make me better at my own craft so that I could more confidently start my own organization that could thrive. But I realized that I was on a bit of a solo journey at this point. And it had come to my attention that perhaps my influences, the people around me, the people who were subconsciously influencing me, maybe they weren't providing the best soul food, so to speak, for what it was that I was aspiring to bring into creation. For myself, and ultimately for them as well. My belief is you don't have just a obligation to yourself, though you do. Jordan Peterson put it really well in an interview. Happiness is a luxury. But doing something meaningful, now that is a moral obligation. I don't disagree whatsoever. But now that comes the question, what exactly is something meaningful? Now, I think this is where paths are going to diverge quite a bit. But something meaningful is wholly dependent on the end user themselves. And what I mean by that is, what I find to be meaningful may not be the same as what you find to be meaningful, which may not be the same as what they find to be meaningful. Not that there won't be any overlap over the course of time. I mean, we're going to disagree with something right now. This tree and I, we had a disagreement the other day. But I understand completely where he was coming from, and I can see the overlap of where our thinking is. I could see how our... What's the word I would use? Destinies are intertwined? I like that. How we're not so much different. Because many of the nuggets of feedback that he was giving were sound. I had nothing to argue with. I understood completely. And I understood completely where it was all coming from, because it was all just, it was all rational, it was all logical. But for him, and even myself, this wasn't something that just happened out of the blue. It wasn't wake up one morning and go, oh, I get what you were talking about now. No. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't have even thought of this if we weren't out here. Thank you. I was going to rant about how trees and nature don't really care for humans. But we are part of the same ecosystem. Trees and plants, they breathe in carbon dioxide, they breathe out oxygen, we breathe in oxygen and breathe out carbon dioxide. Now, what I was going on about was how, when in a place like this, in a natural church, it's okay to offload and curse like a motherfucker and be pissed off. Because what you're doing is, you're now taking that carbon dioxide and flavoring it with a little bit of emotion, a little bit of yourself, just to give like a little taste, a little treat. But what sparked this conversation right now is kind of how the nature of this particular discussion is kind of flavoring my carbon dioxide with a little bit more yummy than usual. New Edition, Candy Girl. I love this song. I said this to my lady friend once when I was drunk, but she brings a smile to my face. Now, what was going through my mind at the time because keeping an eye on my surroundings, observing my surroundings, I started to realize, like I said, like I feel like I'm on a little bit of a solo trip right now. And considering the ambitions I'm trying to manifest into my reality, it dawned on me, I need to be associating myself with a better class of criminal. And on this one particular night, I was scrolling through Facebook and I saw an ad for Masterclass. I'm a huge advocate for Masterclass. I love Masterclass so much. I love it so much that I managed to acquire like 4 free years of Masterclass. I haven't paid for it since the first time I paid for it. It's one of the greatest investments I ever made, and it paid for itself 4 times over just because of the little things I got to do with them. Little opportunities that they would throw my way that would afford me a free year. All right, no problem. I love it. So what I started to do, I put myself on a new journey, and that was to consume as much of these people as possible. Because something I love talking about is my vampiric nature, my narcissist, my parasitic twin ego that feeds off of other people's energy. Now, watching someone like Chef Gordon Ramsay literally make love to a chicken, I could feel his passion. I could feel his drive. But at the same time, I could also see the younger version of him. The one who said, this is what I'm gonna fucking do. I'm gonna fuck a chicken right on goddamn screen. One day. I consumed Neil deGrasse Tyson. That was another amazing one. So fucking delicious. See, what a parasitic twin ego feeds on most is ego. Now, for the most part, we consider vampires and narcissists as these negative beings that thrive on the negative emotions of the people around them, which is why we hurt people, we put them down, we trick people, we use them, make them feel small so that we can feel that power. Oh my God, I love having power over people, right? Especially if you're in a management position, like a middle management position, because you have to compensate for the fact that you have someone who's a bigger asshole than you feeding off of you. You might have your 30, 40, 100 minions underneath you, but you need to feed off of them in order to sustain the master vampire behind you. The master vampires. And depending on the size of your organization, that could be a multi-tiered system. I mean, just using Uncle Hugo, for instance, I mean, you have from the lowest of the food chain up that I'm particularly aware of, you have your seasonal salespeople, who are pretty much just grunts. They're fodder. It's just whatever. All right, just do something. Here, just do the shit work. Then you have the part-time salespeople who commingle with the full-time salespeople. But then you have the key holders who have a little bit more responsibility, and they let their power get to their heads a little bit when they see an opportunity to do so. But that's okay. They have a more advanced understanding of the operational part than, say, the full or part-time, and especially the seasonal employees, sales associates. Then you have your assistant manager, your general manager, but then now that's where we hit the glass ceiling. Because above them, that's where we're getting into the corporate spectrum now. How the general managers, they're like low-level that's like the lowest level of corporate management that you can get. They just throw the word manager on there to make you feel better about yourself, essentially. But then you have the regional managers. Now, where the managers are now feeding off of the people underneath them, the regional managers are feeding on the people underneath them. But then they have the vice presidents feeding off of them, who has the president feeding off of him, who then has another guy in a suit feeding off of him, who has another group of guys feeding off of them, who are then being fed off of by the master vampire, who isn't really even no different than the fucking seasonal guy. But there's a lot of feeding going on. This is why you get a job working for any company. You usually fucking hate it. It usually feels like you're getting your soul sucked out of you, because that's literally what's happening. Your soul, your energy is all going into the acquisition of the energy and souls of the consumers, which then feeds its way up the food chain. Doesn't normally come back down though. Not in the same proportion. But that right there is an instance of negative vampirism. I'm not saying every company's like that. I'm not saying that there's ill intentions behind any of this shit. What I'm saying is, what we're demonstrating is more of the negative dark side of vampirism and narcissism. Now, on the flip side of that, because there's always a light side to the dark side, there's an alternative perspective and an alternative means of exercising, demonstrating that kind of, we'll call it power, where instead of feeding off of the negative emotions of others, we're feeding off of the positive. Now, for me, going through a platform like Masterclass, which you have a countless array of industry professionals and superstars who are lecturing on their favorite subject ever, themselves. Now, Vampire Code kind of dictates that vampires are never to feed on other vampires. For one reason or another. Probably just respect for their own race. But I think that's just a rule. Rules are more like more of a rule than a law. It's a guideline. If you want to play by the rules, don't be feeding off of don't feed off of others of your kind. Kind of like how Brother Malcolm said, the white devil is the only devil that's willing to stab his own people in the back. Now, what Brother Malcolm failed to realize, or maybe failed to mention, or wasn't aware of at the time, is that over the course of time, the white devil would eventually teach all the other devils how to do the exact same thing to their people. Which, in essence, is what Hitler's biggest gripe was. I'm not talking about just with the Jews, but with the state of the country at the time, which is not too dissimilar with what I would call my disdain for this particular system, which in itself is intertwined with all of the other systems going around the world, creating one giant systemic web that I think has a tendency of being completely ignored. Who governs the governors? But I'm distracting. Going back to Masterclass, what I found with that was I was actually applying the teachings of Hitler before I realized that Hitler even had given those teachings to be imparted. And what was that? Because I said it in the other video, not this one. I will not learn politics, but I will allow politics to teach me. Just because I'm watching Chris Voss former expert FBI hostage negotiator. No. My aspiration isn't to become an FBI hostage negotiator. But there are skills and insights that come from spending that much, having that much experience in that job, in that role, that whether you want to be an expert negotiator or not, there are things to take away that can be applied in other areas. Where Hitler may have kind of went on the wrong path is that maybe he shouldn't have gone into politics as much as maybe go down a different creative venture. But at the same time, I am grateful to the fact that he went exactly the path that he did, because that put him in a position to write the book that I read that kind of inspired me, that we're so joyously discussing at this most auspicious time. Now, since over the course of the past three years that I've had the pleasure of having access to Masterclass, I've gone through so goddamn many. And part of the reason for that, part of the reason for my desire to consume as much of that content as possible is going back to what I was saying about being the product of the people that you spend the most time around. I have the luxury of not needing to be next to somebody to feel their energy. I have the benefit of not needing to be standing next to somebody to feel them. And to empathize with them. And to feel what they are feeling. So when I see that kind of passion, that kind of drive, and I look around myself and go, I don't see this anywhere around me. This is completely alien. But these are the people I need to be around. And if the best I'm going to get is via my TV, my TV, through my phone, so be it. Because it just so happens that over the past several years, I've been learning to exercise and develop my empathic abilities to such a degree that I'm consciously aware of them. And how it is that they operate to a degree in which that I can benefit from them, find benefit in them. That's why people ask me what I'm doing. What do you do? It's hard to say, because how do you say I'm vampirizing everything that I see? I don't know if that even makes sense. What it actually brings to mind, going back to Star Wars, because Star Wars is such like a big influence on my way of thinking and the way I perceive things, is another Sith Lord by the name of Darth Nihilus. He was a vampire too. And I don't mean the fanged ones that are sucking blood. I'm not saying they don't exist. They do exist, as a matter of fact. Sometimes the fangs are like implants, but still, motherfuckers are around. And there is vampire cult magic. I've read the books, a book, I've been to the websites, and I know the history of the groups. like to join. Like to join, as a matter of fact. Now, what made Darth Nihilus so interesting was the fact that he didn't make any sense at all. Even when his history was being explained, it was more like, I don't understand what the fuck you're talking about, but that's just fucking cool. What made him so powerful and so foreboding was the fact that he could suck the life out of everything and anything, including planets and the Force itself. He had a tendency of destroying planets just by thinking about them. It was like a... It was a cross between a vacuum and a void, just sucking in all of the light and all of the dark around him. He wasn't even... I don't even think he had a physical form at one point. And I'm not saying that's not possible. If you develop it enough, you can really suck the life out of everything. Sometimes I think to myself, I think I just suck the fun out of everything. Like, I enjoy my life so much, and I have so much fun living my life, that I feel like I suck everyone else's fun away from them. And I even sometimes think the burdens of the world are all my fault. It's all my fault. Nobody can have fun because I exist. But then I think about, well, what if you're wrong? Because there's been more than one occasion where I distanced myself from what I consider to be one of my sources. And what I find over the course of time is that just because I was gone, absolutely nothing changed. Everything's exactly the same. And I looked at myself and I go, well, I've changed. I don't feel the same. I go back to my books, I look and go, that's not me anymore. I can see how he's still there, but not in that way. There's a lot that's gone now. There's a lot that's been let go of. I mean, I attribute that to the fact that I don't think people really get the concept of letting go of things. My mother used to explain to me, just let it go. Just let it go. Bye. But I see it differently, where it's more than just, bye. It's more like, oh, fuck, that happened. Oh, shit. Oh my God, I feel like such a fucking idiot now. God damn it. What am I gonna do? Might as well fucking give up on everything. Fuck. Because that's the only thing that I'm good for, is giving up. This is a fucking failure. My whole life has been just one failure after the other, after the other. For fuck's sake. Ugh. That's letting go. That's how I perceive letting go. What people call shadow work. That's kind of that's it. That's a shadow aspect that I keep to myself because I feel those things. But I just let them go by facing them and looking at them. Huh. Tiffany, I think we're alone now. Yeah, me too. I think I just lost everyone. That's okay. Tiffany. Were you wearing a Tiffany shirt? Zubies. I feel someone. So that's letting go. That's letting go. That's getting over something. That's like pushing through it. I'm not saying it's going away forever. No, that's not the point. Thank you. The Hindu goddess, Kali Ma. The Dark Mother, the dark side of time. Her gift to humanity. Her specialty. Throw all your burdens onto me, and I'll turn them into love for you. I love that I think that way. I love that I blame myself. Because what that does is that kind of sets up the stage for me to be wrong about something. And I hate, my ego hates being wrong. It's like anybody else. But by allowing myself to accept the potential that I am, the chaotic potential that I am wrong, because if I'm wrong, I'm fucked. I'm so fucked that I may as well just fucking give up right this second. But by opening the doorway to the path of wrongedness, I'm also opening up other doors too. Invisible doors. Because time is what you make of it. The future, you make the future. Well, you see the fucking door to it and you're like, I'm going right through there. That's gonna let that motherfucker just come right to me. Which requires trust, it requires belief, it requires faith. Because those are all components of the same thing. You have to trust something before you can actually start believing in it. And over time, that belief just turns into faith, because once you believe that something is going to happen over and over and over and over and over again, you just have faith. All right, that's literally what happens. Every time I do X, Z happens. So, fuck it. People say shit like, "Oh, you sit around on your ass all day, and you're gonna miss all these opportunities." No, well, sometimes you gotta sit on your ass all day and wait for those opportunities to come to you, because they do. Hi, Mr. Fox. Mr. Fox. Foxes are sly, sneaky motherfuckers. I watched Fantastic Mr. Fox. I know what goes on inside their heads. Love being bandits. And they love bandit masks. Makes me think of the Seven of Swords and the tarot. That card's usually associated with trickery, fuckery. It's that card that lets you know, well, traditionally, it's that card that when it's pulled, the reader usually says, there's somebody working behind your back. There's a snake in the grass. Where are you, little fuck? But now there's another way of looking at it. Well, why did I even bring that up? Because one of the decks I have, it's called the Wild Unknown. And the Seven of Swords is shown, the picture of it is a picture of a little fox, little Mr. Fox. Now, from average human perception, you look at that sneaky fuck. Someone's trying to steal my swords. And if you look at the card itself, the traditional card, there's some motherfucker stealing some cards, stealing people's swords. There's a war going on in the background, and this asshole's sneaking into someone's camp, stealing all of their swords. What the fuck? But at the same time, given some of my inspirations, especially when it comes to like Star Wars and the Sith, and just my own background in witchery, and my ancestry in it, subtlety and subterfuge, clandestine deeds are typically what it's required in order to win any kind of battle, struggle. Now, typically people love looking at negative things as negative. People don't like to look at negative things in a positive perspective. Because maybe to one people, they see a guy who's being sneaky and shady. But to another person's, you can look at that and go, all right, well, maybe he's stealing the arsenal of a tyrant army that is going to rape and pillage our people and suck them dry. So from that perspective, is what he's doing bad? No. Because what's good and bad? It's subjective. Anything that you can see as bad, there's somebody else out there that could see it as good. Just like there's another person who's right over there who can see right between the lines and say, no, they're both the same thing, just depending on which side of the fence you're standing on. There's a term that I was just There's a term that I was just kind of awoken to. Ascensionism. It's like a theosophy, in a sense. A divine philosophy. And some people look at it as like a religion, but if you extract the philosophical concepts of it, I can resonate with it more than looking at it as a sturdy religion. Meanwhile, just the basic premise is enough to make it collapse underneath its own weight, which is every bad thing that's ever happened to you, you deserved it. You deserved all of the bad. Now, what gets me all fucked up about that is that what we're doing, we're pointing the finger over there. You got everything bad. That doesn't say I got what I deserved. And maybe the reason it doesn't say that particular configuration of words is because to be an ascensionist, you have to ascend beyond the concepts of good and evil. But as a form of teaching people don't want to hear what they're doing wrong. Which, in a sense, is helpful. I mean, it's not helpful to tell you what you're doing wrong. It's not helpful to tell me what I'm doing wrong, because I as much as it stings my ego to hear what I'm not doing right, at the same time, it triggers me to go, okay, well, how can I do things better next time? Coin operated boy. Because I know that if someone pointed the finger at me and said everything bad that's ever happened to you happened because you deserved it, that would piss me off. And I like to think of myself as a little bit more evolved consciously than people, but I think what would trigger me is just the arrogance of the person saying that to me. And what about you, asshole? Everything bad that's ever happened to me, I fucking deserve. What about you? Because right now, I feel like something bad's about to happen to you. And if that vision manifests itself, let's see if you're saying the same fucking thing. And I'm not saying I didn't deserve every bad thing that's ever happened to me. I did. But because I can see that, and because I can apply the principles of karma and dharma to my life, I can also see how the only reason those bad things happened was because I was perceiving them as bad. I was failing to see the blessing hidden within the curse. But it took me the ascending my consciousness above just seeing black and white to be able to even perceive that there was more to see than just black and white. That's why when I come out here and I do practices like my fucking rage rituals and just even doing this, all of this has a tinge of bad to it. Do you know what I see when I do this? While I'm still going on, I'm seeing all the people I know, all the people that I know, the people that I've known, the people that I've yet to know, watching this and judging me. And I feel stupid. And I feel icky about it. But at the same time, just how I'm seeing it as bad, there's a good aspect to it as well. Because it goes like this. Well, you're still going. You didn't give up on it. You're not letting that fear control you. You're actually using that fear to continue going on with what you're doing. So maybe you should give a little bit more credit to all that shit that's going on inside your head, because if you haven't given up yet, then that means that those things, they don't control you anymore. You broke free from the chains. One of the teachings of the Sith that I fucking love the most, because the Jedi are too afraid to go down this route. But it says this, and it took me a while to actually grasp this, because I was aware of this credo for probably 20 years, close to 20 years, before it finally clicked into place, and I went, oh, I just got it. And it goes, peace is a lie. There's only passion. Through passion, I gain strength. Through strength, I gain power. Through power, I gain victory. Through victory, my chains are broken. The Force shall set me free. What does that mean? That means that every fucking step that you take closer to doing the thing that you wish that you were doing, that's another victory. Peace is complacency. But peace is a lie. Like we learned in 1984, peace is war. Your complacency is the catalyst for the war that's going on inside of you, that's telling you to fucking break out of whatever fucking cage that you're in, self-imposed cage. But every breath, every time you think, I want to quit, and every time you don't quit, every time I wanted to quit, and every time I had to say to myself, just get to that finish line right there. All you got to do is just make it to the end of the week without quitting or getting fired, and that will buy you a fucking present. Do that enough times. Trust yourself to be able to do that enough times. Or trust that voice, rather. And eventually you start to believe it. Holy fuck. I'm fucking doing it. I'm walking. I'm not crawling anymore. I'm a big boy. I can put my big boy pants on by myself. Eventually that belief in myself turned into faith. I have faith in myself. But I got faith in all the other external forces that I have absolutely no control over. The ones that bring opportunity to me. Yesterday I was talking about baking cakes. Hey, the first cake may not come out fucking perfect, but that doesn't mean you're not going to have an opportunity to make another cake even better than the last one. And just because you didn't like the cake, just because it didn't satiate your own palate, doesn't mean that the recipient of that cake didn't fucking savor every morsel of it. And you'll know just how well you did on that first attempt when they come back for seconds. I mean, I'm talking personally about flattering a girl. and then being concerned over whether or not that flattery went too far. Did it not go far enough? Did it not hit the mark? And just in my own personal situation, I mean, I can't say that my cake tasted good or bad. All I know is that they came back for seconds. Which tells me, hey, your cake baking skills are a lot better than you think they are. Oh, I know. Victory. Finding the strength inside of myself to overcome my own insecurities, to look at my old self in the face and go, fuck you. This is the new way. This is the new order. Sorry. This is how we roll now. And finally, the strength, yeah, it gives you the power to fucking do something. I have the strength to fucking face it. I have the strength to fucking drain what's trying to drain me, what's been draining me, and apply it. Find a practical application for it. The act of making a cake that's delicious, that everybody wants to take a bite out of, isn't the success. The success is just making the cake. It's about breaking the fucking eggs and putting it in and mixing the shit up and throwing it in the fucking oven. That's the success. Because despite how bad the cake might look, you might have overcooked the shit out of that thing and be like, ugh. But to some human fucking palate, that might be exactly what they were looking for. They might just have such a fucked up sense of taste that they can stick their tongue in shit and go, love it. It's the best thing ever. Give me some more. No problem. Indulge. But I remember when that saying like really fucking kicked in for me, and it was like, oh, I fucking get it. I fucking get it. Because this is what I need to be doing. This is the mindset I need to fucking be applying to everything that I'm doing from this day fucking forward. Or this. What time is it? Tree. What am I thinking? I'm thinking about what I'm going to do after I'm done with this, because there's only about 10 minutes left. What about what you said about being here and now? Yeah, that's not all the time. Sometimes you gotta think out a little bit. Elon Musk didn't fucking create what he created by fucking standing still all day. Well, just being in one place. Sometimes there's a benefit to being in more than one place at a time. How can you be in one place at a time? That's impossible. You're right. What I'm thinking about is what the next thing I have to do is. Part of me is saying that I don't have to, it's not really worth thinking about because I can make whatever plans I want right now because once I get back, something's gonna happen where things are gonna change. But that doesn't mean not to think about it, not to make a plan, because if plans are meant to fail, plans are meant to fall through, then plan aplenty. This way you know what's not gonna happen. And then you have no choice but to recognize that the only thing that's going to happen is the unknown. Why? Because of divine chaos, that's why. Divine chaos. Try to imagine that there's intelligence behind it. But the only way to find the intelligence behind it is to actually go through it. Because despite the nature of chaos, the intelligence behind it is also encoded within it. But it helps if you know how to look into chaos and see it more than just randomness. I'm not saying that it's not all random. No, that's exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying that it's not all random. Maybe 99.998% of it is random. And just utter fucking madness. But I also live in a reality where nothing is absolute. And there's always got to be a little bit of wiggle room. Because order comes out of chaos. Just as chaos comes out of order. Each one is dependent on the other. I actually mapped it out the other day. It's a 4-stage process. It's an 8-stage process, actually. I actually see a different way of drawing it out, too. And everything that we plan is based on a chaos. What are we planning? I'm planning on going home, planning on reading, planning on responding to Facebook things. I plan on listening to a book. I plan on writing. I plan on working with another entity. I plan on having a normal day. I plan on not being hit by a car. I plan on being hit by a car. I plan on a meteor falling on my head. I plan on getting arrested. I plan on being lynched. I plan on being raped and murdered. I plan on going completely fucking crazy. What time is it? What? Something just told me I gotta go. Now. Stop thinking, just start moving. Why? I don't know. We'll find out when we get there. Trust that it's not in vain. That's possible. It's not impossible.